He started waking up earlier than me, which was strange. James was never a morning person. For 10 years, I was always the first one up, grinding beans while he mumbled something about deadlines from under the covers. But last month, something shifted. Suddenly, he was up before dawn, shaved, dressed, frying eggs I didn't ask for, leaving little post-its on the fridge like, "You're strong," or "Let your body rest." Rest from what? I asked him that once, laughing. He kissed my temple and said, "You've been burning the candle at both ends. I just worry." He said it like he meant it, like he was afraid for me. But I was starting to feel afraid of him. My name is Evelyn Shaw. I'm 34, Seattle, co-owner of a fraud detection firm. I design software to catch patterns, small details that don't align. And yet, somehow, I missed the one living in my house. He brought me lunch to the office, tofu bowls, extra spinach. "For the antioxidants," he said. He lingered while I ate, asked how I was sleeping, if I'd felt foggy lately, if I'd considered a full blood panel, just to be safe. I said I felt fine. He smiled and said nothing, just held my hand a second too long. "You don't always know when something's wrong," he said. Second time that week. I started noticing more. New pills on my nightstand. Sleep tea? I never asked for. Sudden concern about my color, my appetite, my rest schedule. I pretended to take it all. Poured the tea down the drain. Stashed the pills in an Altoids tin I hid in the back of my closet. One night, I ran the capsules through a chemical analyzer. They weren't vitamins. They were hormone suppressants, the kind used as a precursor to chemotherapy. I didn't confront him. That would have been emotional. And emotions make people sloppy. Instead, I logged everything. Created a spreadsheet disguised as vendor performance metrics. Old habit. The turning point came quietly. Tuesday morning, he stepped outside to take a call, left his laptop open on the kitchen counter. The screen dimmed, then flicked back on. A Gmail tab, open, folder labeled April, N2 active. I clicked. The first email was from Nicole, his sister. Subject: Symptom tracker update plus lab slips. Keeping it subtle, fatigue plus chest tightness, logged 3 times this month. Blood test pending. If she pushes back, remind her about her mother's health history. Attachment: a PDF labeled Shaw Life Policy Confirmed.pdf. Then James's reply, signed, policy active as of April 1st, double indemnity if Co-D is medical, payout trigger 90 days post-diagnosis, no red flags. No red flags, as if I were a stock to monitor, a number to cash out. I didn't scroll any further. I didn't need to. Just sat there, hands on the counter, the scent of eggs still in the air, the footsteps of my husband returning from the yard. He stepped in, kissed my cheek, said, "Something smells burnt." I smiled, just the toast. He poured me tea, placed it gently in front of me. "Maybe take a nap today," he said softly. I said I would, and I drank it. Every drop. Not because I trusted him, but because I wanted to know how far he'd already gone. That night I started phase 1. I downloaded every file in that thread, all 46, symptom logs, policy drafts, fake clinic records. I backed them up twice, once to the cloud, once to a drive hidden in a hollowed-out copy of Sense and Sensibility. I didn't cry, didn't tremble, didn't sleep, but something in me hardened. Not grief, not rage, intention. He thought I was fading, that I'd become nothing but a symptom in a spreadsheet. He didn't know I was wide awake, didn't know I'd already started building the ending, the one where I disappeared before he made me vanish. And when I vanished, he'd be the one left holding the policy, the motive, and the empty teacup. The next morning, he brought me green juice, cucumber, ginger, kale, my least favorite blend, which he knew. But now it was for circulation, for cleansing, for the protocol. He hovered by the sink while I washed the glass. "Did you sleep okay?" I nodded. He smiled, too gently. Then came the real move. "I booked you a consult," he said. "Telehealth, Thursday at 3, with Dr. Morris. She specializes in hormonal fatigue." "Hormonal fatigue," I repeated. He nodded. "It might help you make sense of the way you've been feeling." He made it sound like compassion. What it was framing. After he left, I pulled out the Altoids tin, 4 new pills, all untouched. I shaved the coating off one, reagent tested it, hormone suppressants. Again. Every week the same quiet assault, but now it wasn't just a theory. It was dosage. He was poisoning me, slowly enough to sell a diagnosis, just fast enough to trigger a policy clause. I copied his files, emails with Nicole, a recurring calendar event labeled N Review, a second draft of a death certificate, undated. I printed the policy, highlighted the clause, full payout upon death by medically confirmed illness, with no pre-existing condition on record at approval. Translation: he needed the symptoms to look real, but sudden, clean, tragic. That night, I heard him on the phone with Nicole. He forgot to take it off speaker. "Morris will flag adrenal suppression. That starts the timer. After that, let the symptoms speak for themselves." Nicole's voice was flat. "She won't fight it. She trusts you." I folded the last of the laundry, smiled at the basket. Thursday came. I wore soft clothes, no makeup, hair down, flat. He sat beside me for the call, held my hand like we were navigating grief instead of a setup. Dr. Morris appeared on screen, calm, polished, over-rehearsed. I asked where she practiced. She smiled. Multi-state operation. Mostly virtual. I asked about a patient portal. James cut in, "Honey, let's just focus on how you're feeling." I looked at him, then back at her. She said, "We're upgrading our system for security. No records, no verification, no legitimacy." She asked about symptoms, memory, fatigue, volatility. I answered like a textbook case, flat tone, vagueness, tired blinking. She nodded along. Finally, she said, "I'll flag your profile for endocrine monitoring. Please avoid travel, focus on rest." And then she signed off. James leaned over and kissed my cheek. "You did great," he said. I smiled. He had no idea I'd recorded the entire call, from a second angle, with his coaching voice audible in the background. The next day, I uploaded it to a secure server. Then I met with Diane Nichols, attorney, specialist in coercive control and insurance fraud. We met in a coffee shop, back corner, no drinks. "I'm not ready to file," I said. "I just need to know how far I can go without crossing the line." She smiled. "You can go as far as you need. Just don't leave fingerprints." Then she handed me a burner phone. That night, he brought me lavender oil, rubbed my shoulders, tucked in the blankets, said, "We're going to get through this together." I whispered, "I know." And I did, because he thought I was halfway to gone, but I was halfway to gone, in another way entirely. And when I disappeared, he'd be the one holding the lies. Fraud makes people lazy when it works the first time. That thought hit me as I typed Nicole's name into a public records archive. She had no online footprint, no socials, no photos. But the deeper I dug, the more I found in places they'd forgotten to scrub: civil filings, estate documents. One name stood out: Hannah Sloan, Nicole's wife, died 3 years ago. Cause: acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Time from diagnosis to death: 9 weeks. Exactly the same timeline they'd mapped out for me. The obituary was soft, sanitized, But I found the estate documents. Nicole received a $2.4 million payout, deposited 67 days after Hannah's death, into an LLC she created 1 month before the diagnosis. The listed address? A UPS box. James once told me Nicole wasn't good with attachment. Now I realized Nicole was good at detachment, the permanent kind. I printed everything, made a comparison chart, same style I use at work to flag high-risk fraud. Victim, Hannah Sloan, Evelyn Shaw. Symptom pattern, fatigue. Suppressed appetite, rapid decline. Trigger, hormone interference, lab-confirmed illness. Payout timeline, 90 days insurer, same company broker, same guy. It wasn't improvisation, it was procedure. I decided to visit Hannah's mother. Her name was Margaret, lived in a coastal retirement condo, seashell decor, the scent of lemon disinfectant. She opened the door slowly, suspicious. I told her I used to know Hannah, that I had concerns. She didn't speak for a while. Then she said, "They already took everything. What else could there be?" We sat. She told me Hannah had been fine, just tired. Nicole kept pushing preventative care, moved her out of state. Margaret never saw the test results. She was cut off completely. Then Margaret pulled out a folded receipt. Private clinic custom hormone suppression therapy dated 2 months before Hannah's official diagnosis. I didn't say much. I didn't need to. I left quietly, sat in the car with the engine off, and decided right then I would not be the next Hannah Sloan. That night, I told James I'd been having heart palpitations. He looked concerned, too concerned. He asked if I'd logged it in the journal he gave me, said he'd add it for me when I said I was too tired. Another symptom, another breadcrumb for the claim. I let him believe I was slipping. But I met with Diane again the next morning, this time with a plan. "I want to disappear," I told her. "Not forever, just long enough to make it believable." She didn't flinch. "Do you want him jailed or ruined?" "Both," I said, "in that order." She walked me through every detail, how to sever digital footprints, what to leave behind, how to stage confusion, how to vanish in a way that looked tragic, but pointed to him. She said, "Make sure the version of you that disappears looks like she was already halfway gone." The next morning, I began phase 2. Silent, faded, forgetful. James called it progression. I called it performance. He brought tea, watched from the hallway, updated his log. He thought I was giving up, but all I was giving him was rope. I became what he needed me to be, not cured, not dying, just crumbling. I stopped responding to emails, missed meetings, let the house slip, laundry unfolded, plates in the sink. He noticed, of course, started logging it all. I found the file: health monitor, decline log, missed meals, sleep patterns, hygiene, inconsistencies. He wasn't worried. He was documenting. I copied it, renamed it. Evidence, homicidal grooming, seemed more accurate. I let myself slip in front of Rachel, too. Sent her a message late one night. "Do you ever feel like your organs are shutting down but nobody believes you?" Then deleted it. She screenshotted it, just as planned. That message would become part of the story later. James stepped up his care. Supplements every 6 hours. Blended smoothies. Controlled everything I touched. Once I pretended to faint, curled up by the hallway wall, glassy-eyed. He panicked. That was when I knew he truly believed his plan was working. I told him I wanted to take leave from work, said I felt unstable. He kissed my forehead and said, "That's so brave." What he meant was, perfect. Now she's isolated. I began to craft the digital echo of a woman falling apart. Misspelled emails, Google searches, adrenal crash symptoms, early hormone failure, visits to forums he could track, all fake, All curated. I made sure every trace of my online self looked scared and declining. Then I planted the real seed. One morning I asked, "Do you think if I died, people would blame you?" He froze, then smiled, but it was thinner than usual. "Why would you say that?" I shrugged, sipped the smoothie, stared out the window. "I don't know. I've just been tired." That afternoon, he emailed Nicole. Didn't even bother to close the tab. "She's destabilizing faster than expected. If Morris flags again, we can accelerate the confirmation process." He hit send, then brought me more tea. It was time to disappear. I picked a Friday. He had a client pitch, gone all day. I left the phone by the bed, laptop cracked open. One browser tab left on, confusion from adrenal fatigue. My car was parked 2 blocks away, just far enough to delay suspicion, just close enough to look like I never meant to vanish. I left a note, not suicidal, just vague. "I need time. I don't know who I am anymore. Please don't follow me." It was enough to sell the story, to start the panic. And then I waited, burner phone in hand, watching him. He didn't report me missing for 6 hours. That delay would say more than any symptom log ever could, because I hadn't just vanished. I'd become the very thing he thought he wanted, a broken woman, and in doing so, I made him the perfect suspect. The hardest part of vanishing isn't disappearing, it's staying disappeared. For the first 72 hours, I was a ghost. Not online, not on GPS, not even in the systems I helped build. I booked no hotel, used no cards, powered nothing with my real name. I was Evelyn Shaw, but I wasn't Evelyn Shaw. Not anymore. I stayed in a cash-only rental cabin 4 towns over. No cameras, no IDs, no Wi-Fi, just a prepaid hotspot buried in a Faraday pouch and a burner laptop with one purpose, to watch. And I watched everything. The police opened an official missing person case. The news picked it up. Local headline: Seattle woman vanishes following weeks of illness. Husband pleads for help. There was a photo, one he'd taken a few days before I left. I was in a hoodie, pale, blank stare. He'd chosen it on purpose, to sell the decline. He gave a statement on the news, said I'd been withdrawing, said I'd stopped recognizing people close to me. He even cried, almost convincingly, almost. But the cracks formed fast. Investigators asked about my symptoms. He provided spreadsheets, doctor's notes. Voicemails he claimed were mine, slurring, scattered, desperate. Only, they weren't me, not my voice, not my cadence. They were AI modulated, fabricated. And when the forensic lab flagged the voice mismatch, everything began to shift. Nicole's involvement unraveled first. A subpoena pulled her business banking history. A life insurance payout. $2.4 million, 3 years prior. Same broker, same clinic, same lab vendor. A coincidence? The detective didn't think so. They filed for a digital warrant, and from that came the real gift. A group folder, Google Drive, titled Legacy Management Phase Protocols. Inside, templates, scripts, symptom sequences, prescriptions, death planning spreadsheets. One file was titled Phase 4, Evelyn S. Final Markers. It was dated 2 days before I vanished. I sent that file to Rachel, encrypted, with instructions. She delivered it directly to the Department of Insurance Fraud and the Washington Attorney General's office. She didn't include her name. She didn't need to. Meanwhile, James was panicking. He stopped giving statements, stopped appearing in public, started moving money. I watched him drain one account into another, send payments to a crypto wallet traced back to Nicole. Classic mistake. Criminals think crypto is invisible. They forget blockchains never blink. I called Diane. "It's time," I said. "Time for what?" she asked. "For them to see the footage." She didn't ask which footage. She already knew. It went live on a Thursday, posted anonymously on a whistleblower advocacy site, mirrored across 4 public archives, a 10-minute cut of the fake telehealth call, audio of James coaching the doctor, screenshots of forged medical records, the final markers document, with my name, and a checkbox labeled "Psychological Destabilization Complete." The story went viral in under 12 hours. Reddit, Twitter, YouTube, and Evelyn Shaw, The Policy Project, on Trust No Caretaker. Nicole was arrested the following Monday, charged with conspiracy to commit insurance fraud, forgery, attempted manslaughter. James wasn't arrested. Not yet, but he was served, and he was silent. No more statements, no more tears, just headlines. Husband accused of faking wife's illness for $2 million policy payout. Insurance murder plot foiled by alleged victim's disappearance. One journalist called me the vanishing wife, another, the woman who outsmarted death. But I wasn't gone. Not really. I was watching. And when I watched him crumble, when I saw the footage of him sitting in that interrogation room, slumped, silent, shaking, I didn't feel joy. I felt precision, like a lock clicking shut, like a storm moving in slow motion, like truth finally stepping into the room. That night I lit a match to everything that bore my old name. The IDs, the burner accounts, the cabin key. I stood in a motel parking lot and watched it all burn in a barbecue pit. Pages curling, flash drives melting. My past, documented, then erased. Except for one drive, one final copy, labeled James Exhibit A. I mailed it to his attorney. No return address, just a note, in case he tries to deny it. And then I drove, south. No plan, no map, just motion and silence, an air that finally tasted like mine. Because I hadn't just disappeared, I'd rewritten the rules. And now I was free. When someone disappears, people start asking when they'll come back. When someone fakes their disappearance, people start asking why they ever left. But when someone vanishes and leaves behind a breadcrumb trail of digital rot, the questions shift. They stop being about the missing person. They start being about the ones who stayed. James filed the claim on day 31, the legal minimum. He didn't cry, didn't plead, didn't bring up love. He brought documents, medical logs, email threads, clinic consultations, all carefully staged. He said I'd been declining rapidly, that I was in and out of lucidity, that my last words to him were, "I just want peace." He said it all with a straight face. He must have really believed I was gone. The insurance adjuster reviewed the packet. Too polished, too tight. 3 minutes into the interview, he asked, "Did you personally witness her health decline?" James nodded. "Every day." Said it without blinking. What he didn't know was that the adjuster had already received a flagged tip, an anonymous dossier, complete with metadata, signature forgeries, backdated files, duplicated symptom reports, and a timeline, a very precise one that matched a previous life insurance payout tied to Nicole Sloan, Hannah's timeline, her staged symptoms, her sudden death, different names, identical patterns. Fraud has fingerprints. James had left his on every single page. The adjuster didn't deny the claim. Not right away. He stalled. Said they needed more paperwork. Secondary confirmations. Internal review. James agreed, calmly. Because liars like him believe they're smarter than systems, that the rules don't apply to their kind of charm. 3 days later, Nicole was charged with insurance fraud and conspiracy. Her face was everywhere. And James, he filed for emotional distress damages, said the media coverage was hurting his mental health, said he needed space to grieve. He asked to delay further questioning. He needed time. Instead, they gave him a court date. It wasn't a criminal trial yet, just a hearing. Insurance fraud, civil court. But the evidence was stacked like concrete. I watched it online, live-streamed, pixelated, but clear enough. James wore a navy suit, hair flat, expression calculated. He spoke like someone who believed the room owed him something. Sympathy, validation, maybe even applause. He told them I'd been unstable, that I believed people were watching me, that I withdrew from reality. Then the prosecutor played the footage, the one from our living room, James whispering to a fake doctor behind a webcam, scripting a diagnosis. His voice on loop, just say adrenal imbalance. She won't know what that means. The room went silent. James's face cracked. Only for a second, but it was there. The recognition, the realization that someone had turned the trap around. The prosecutor then introduced the second set of files, the treatment schedules, the altered pills, the chemical breakdowns, followed by Nicole's financials, the payout patterns, the Hannah timeline. Every piece was legal, every piece admissible. James's attorney asked for a recess. Denied. They ruled in favor of the insurer. The $2 million claim? Denied. Flagged. Frozen. All related assets? Under audit. And James, officially under criminal investigation, no longer the grieving husband, now a named suspect in a conspiracy to commit premeditated insurance fraud and attempted murder. I watched the verdict alone, in a small cafe 2 states away. Ordered tea, brought my own sugar. Sat by the window, light on my face. And when the stream ended, I closed the browser. Didn't smile, didn't exhale, just listened. To the silence, to the absence, to the exact thing James could never handle, a world that no longer revolved around him. That night Diane called. She didn't say hello, just said, "They want to know if you'll testify." I paused, stared out the window, then asked, "Do I have to?" "No," she said. "Not unless you want to." I didn't answer her then. I let the question sit, because I'd already said everything I needed to, in emails, in footage, in silence. But part of me wanted to walk into that courtroom one day, alive, unshaken, undeniable, just to watch his eyes break when he saw me. Not a ghost, not a memory, not a policy, but a witness. I didn't walk into the courtroom. I didn't need to. I watched it from a beach cafe 4,200 miles away. Plastic chair, borrowed laptop, salt air on my skin. The trial streamed through a press-only portal. No comments, no theatrics, just testimony and precision. The prosecution didn't need drama. They had a forged policy, fake symptoms, perfectly mapped, emails, templates, payouts. Nicole sat 3 rows back, expression flat. James beside his lawyer, silent, until they played the footage. My footage. James whispering to a fake doctor mid-call, "Just say adrenal imbalance." "She won't know what it means." He blinked. Just once. Recognition. Realization. The trap had reversed. They introduced the spreadsheet. Legacy management. Phase protocols. 2 victims. 1 playbook. Hannah Sloan. Me. A forensic psychologist explained coercive medical control, how love is mimicked, how care becomes isolation. She showed the journals James asked me to fill, the symptoms he scripted, the voice logs he faked. She called it intentional psychological murder, not of the body, of identity. I closed the laptop before closing arguments. I already knew the ending. 3 hours later, Diane messaged, "Both found guilty." James. Conspiracy, attempted manslaughter, coercive abuse. Nicole. Insurance fraud, medical manipulation, minimum 20 years each. I didn't smile, didn't cry, just breathed. For the first time in months, I wasn't being watched. I wasn't being rewritten. I was unowned. That night I walked the beach barefoot. No aliases, no backups, just me. The ocean didn't care who I used to be. It just moved forward. So I did too. There's no going back from this. And I don't want to. Because the woman I was before, she believed in fairness, in systems, in love. Now, I believe in patterns, and I know how to stop them. My name is Evelyn Shaw. I was profiled, groomed, scheduled for erasure. But I survived the deletion, documented the blueprint, and I watched their machine collapse. Now I work quietly. 3 other women, already saved. Same setup, same poison, different endings. I speak under a different name. I don't post selfies, don't do press. Because the moment you give them your face, they try to own the rest of you too. James once said, "You're the strongest person I know." He meant it as a compliment. He meant it as a warning. Turns out he was right. Revenge doesn't always look like fire. Sometimes it looks like a live stream, and a man who tried to kill you watching the verdict with no idea you're on the other end of the screen.